Some of the most mind-blowing inventions weren't created in Silicon Valley or modern labs. They were built by ancient civilizations, then lost to time. History isn't what you think it is. Because 2,000 years ago, someone built a battery. And we still don't know what it was doing in ancient ruins. The Romans created concrete that grows stronger with time. We can't recreate it, even now. A shipwreck revealed a 2,000 years old machine like a computer that could predict eclipses and track the planets. One man designed a humanoid robot 500 years before robotics was supposed to exist. Glass so flexible it could bend without breaking. A purple dye once worth more than gold itself. Throughout history, there have been these incredible inventions that were so far ahead of their time that when they disappeared, humanity literally had to wait hundreds or even thousands of years to rediscover them. So let's dive into these lost inventions that prove our ancestors were way smarter than we give them credit for. Let's start with something that shouldn't exist. In 1938, archaeologists near Baghdad found these clay jars that dated back over 2,000 years. Sounds boring, right? Just old pottery. But here's where it gets weird. Inside these jars were copper cylinders and iron rods. When scientists tested them, they realized these things could generate electricity. Yeah, you heard that right. Electricity. 2,000 years before Alessandro Volta supposedly invented the first battery. Now, nobody knows for sure what they used it for. Some researchers think it was for electrotherapy, like some kind of ancient pain relief treatment. Others believe it could have been used for electroplating, which is coating objects with gold or silver. Either way, think about this for a second. Someone figured out how to harness electrical current before most of the world even understood what lightning was. And then this knowledge just vanished. For 2 millennia, we had no idea batteries were even possible. Makes you wonder what else they knew that we've forgotten, doesn't it? Okay, so imagine you're a sponge diver in 1901, minding your own business off the coast of a Greek island, and you stumble upon an ancient shipwreck. Cool, right? But then you find this weird corroded lump of bronze and wood. For decades, nobody could figure out what it was. Then, when scientists finally X-rayed it, their minds were completely blown. This thing was a computer. Not like, metaphorically. It was an actual mechanical computer built around 100 BC. The Greeks called it the Antikythera mechanism, and it could predict solar eclipses, track the movements of planets, and even tell you when the next Olympic Games would happen. It had over 30 bronze gears working together with insane precision. To put this in perspective, we didn't see anything remotely this complex again until medieval astronomical clocks showed up in the 1300s. That's a 1400-year gap. How did they build this? How did they understand astronomy and mechanics well enough to create something that wouldn't look out of place in a Renaissance workshop? And why did this technology completely disappear? Nobody knows. But it proves one thing: the ancient Greeks were operating on a level we're only now starting to appreciate. Here's something that'll blow your mind. The Romans built the Pantheon almost 2,000 years ago. It's still standing. It's still the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the world. Meanwhile, our modern concrete highways need repairs every few decades. So what's going on here? The Romans had a recipe for concrete that was actually better than what we use today. They mixed volcanic ash with lime and seawater, and somehow this created a material that actually got stronger over time, especially in seawater. Modern scientists have studied it and found that the seawater triggered a chemical reaction that created new minerals, reinforcing the structure from within. We lost this formula after the Roman Empire fell. For over 1,000 years, we couldn't build anything close to what they achieved. And even now, with all our advanced chemistry and engineering, we're still trying to fully replicate it. Think about that. We can send people to space, but we can't match the concrete recipe of a civilization that didn't even have calculators. This one sounds like pure science fiction, but stick with me. During the reign of Emperor Tiberius in Rome, a craftsman supposedly created glass that was flexible. Not just bendable, but like, you could drop it and it wouldn't shatter. Instead, it would just dent, and you could hammer it back into shape. The inventor brought it to the emperor, thinking he'd be rewarded. Instead, Tiberius had him executed. Why? Because if glass couldn't break, it wouldn't need to be replaced. And the Roman glass industry would collapse overnight. So the secret died with him. Now, we don't have hard proof this actually happened, but the story was written down by ancient historians like Pliny the Elder. And here's the thing, we still don't have glass that works like this. We have tempered glass, we have laminated glass, but nothing that can be hammered back into shape after being dented. Was this story just a legend? Or did someone 2,000 years ago figure out something we still haven't? Leonardo da Vinci is famous for painting the Mona Lisa and sketching flying machines. But did you know he also designed a fully functional robot? In 1495, he created blueprints for a mechanical knight that could sit up, wave its arms, move its head, and even open and close its jaw. It was powered by a system of pulleys and cables, basically a programmable automaton. For centuries, people thought it was just a fantasy sketch. Then, in the 1950s, researchers actually built it based on his designs. And it worked. Perfectly. This was Renaissance-era robotics. Da Vinci understood mechanics, anatomy, and engineering at a level that wouldn't become common for another 400 years. Imagine if his designs had been mass-produced back then. Imagine if the knowledge had spread. We might have had the Industrial Revolution centuries earlier. But instead, his notebooks gathered dust, and humanity had to reinvent the wheel all over again. The Vikings sailed across the Atlantic Ocean to North America 500 years before Columbus. But here's the problem, they didn't have compasses. So how did they navigate through fog and clouds when they couldn't see the sun or stars? They used something called a sunstone. For a long time, historians thought this was just a myth from Viking sagas. But then scientists discovered that certain crystals, like Iceland spar, can detect polarized light from the sun even when it's completely overcast. By rotating the crystal and looking through it, you can figure out exactly where the sun is, even if you can't see it. Archaeologists actually found one of these crystals on a sunken Elizabethan ship from the 1500s, proving that this technology was real and used for centuries. But eventually, once magnetic compasses became common, the knowledge faded away. The Vikings were using advanced optics for navigation 1,000 years ago, and we only recently rediscovered how it worked. In 132 AD, a Chinese inventor named Zhong Heng created the world's first seismograph. This thing could detect earthquakes from hundreds of miles away. It was a large bronze vessel with 8 dragon heads around the outside, each holding a ball in its mouth. When an earthquake happened, a pendulum inside would trigger a mechanism, and one of the dragons would drop its ball into a frog's mouth below, pointing in the direction of the quake. And it worked. Historical records show that it successfully detected earthquakes that people in the capital couldn't even feel. China was detecting and measuring seismic activity over 1,700 years before the modern seismograph was invented in Europe. This was legitimate scientific instrumentation based on an understanding of physics and engineering. And just like so many other inventions, the design was eventually lost, and humanity had to start from scratch centuries later. You know how we say something costs a king's ransom? Well, in the ancient world, Tyrian purple dye literally did. This dye, created by the Phoenicians from sea snails, was so expensive that only royalty could afford it. But here's what's fascinating, the chemistry behind it was incredibly advanced. The Phoenicians had to extract tiny amounts of dye from thousands of murex snails, then process it through a complex chemical treatment that involved fermentation and exposure to sunlight in very specific ways. The result was a color that was not only vibrant but also permanent. It didn't fade. Ever. Modern chemists have analyzed the dye and found that the process involved chemical reactions and molecular structures that were way beyond what anyone in 1500 BC should have been able to achieve. They didn't have beakers or thermometers or any understanding of molecular chemistry, yet they perfected a process that remained unmatched for thousands of years. When the Phoenician civilization declined and the Roman Empire fell, the exact process was lost. We eventually figured out how to make synthetic purple dyes in the 1800s, but for over a millennium, true Tyrian purple was gone from the world. Let's jump forward to someone you've probably heard of, Nikola Tesla. This guy was legitimately one of the greatest inventors who ever lived. He gave us AC electricity and dozens of other innovations. But his biggest dream? Wireless transmission of electricity. Free energy for everyone. Tesla built this massive tower called Wardenclyffe in New York, designed to broadcast electrical power through the air. No wires, no infrastructure, just electricity pulled from the atmosphere. He believed he could provide power to the entire world for free. But here's where it gets dark. His funding got pulled. Why? Because you can't make money off free energy. You can't put a meter on it. His tower was never finished, and the technology was buried. Now, we have wireless charging for phones, but it's nowhere near what Tesla envisioned. So here's what all of this tells us. History isn't a straight line. Progress isn't inevitable. We've lost incredible technologies, brilliant innovations, and knowledge that took centuries to rediscover. They were proof that our ancestors were capable of things we never gave them credit for. If this video made you think differently about history, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries of the past.